So today we are going to take a look at a new game, which is a game I really like, and this video is going to be largely introducing the game, which is Romance of the Three Kingdoms 14, but also just generally the Romance of the Three Kingdoms series. What this does is it covers a particular period in China known as the Three Kingdoms era. For those of you who are unfamiliar, this was a period of China where followed the end of the Han Empire, kind of with the Yellow Turban Rebellion, and the Han Empire was not able to keep everything together, and so eventually it schismed into a sort of period where one person gained control of the emperor, and then all the warlords rose up against him and, tried to take him down, and eventually he was assassinated. But what was left was this power vacuum where there was a bunch of warlords vying for control of all of China, and eventually it came down to, kind of the namesake, the three kingdoms that were left standing, which is Shu, Wei, and Wu, and these formed a tripedal balance, and it is it is a period of time that is memorialized as one of the great pieces of, Chinese literature, which is the Three Kingdoms, which is attributed to Guanzhong. It was written sometime in the 1400s, something like this, although it's probably has multiple authors, and it's not necessarily that guy, but it was a period where, these three kingdoms vied for power, and, to some degree informs some of the ideas behind the 3v3v3. We have Victoria 3 because the tripedal balance was an important characteristic. Wei was the strongest empire. They eventually conquered everything and formed the Jin Empire. And what's interesting about this game, or what I like about this game, is it focuses on the personnel quite a lot, because it is personnel focused, in terms of the story of what's going on. And so you see here we have a bunch of characters. These are custom characters. These are not characters from the actual game, but I think it's worth explaining and kind of introducing the game through the lens of thinking in terms of the characters themselves and this sort of thing, because it is a strategy game that is, revolves around the characters. And you can see here they have different abilities. They have leadership, strength, which is their war kind of power, intelligence, politics, and charisma. The Three Kingdoms book is a sort of larger-than-life narrative that's sometimes called 70% 70% fact and like 30% sensationalism, or like this type of stuff, or fiction and this type of thing. And it is, sort of glorifying some of these characters. And so we have abilities. We have several different abilities. These inform, charisma is your ability to employ other characters. Having a lot of characters is really important. Everything is done by characters, and so acquiring a lot of characters is important. More on that later. Politics is largely your ability to govern. Intelligence is your ability to scheme and use certain tactics on the battlefield. Strength is generally kind of your offensive abilities on the battlefield, and leadership is more or less your defensive abilities on the battlefield. They can have special traits. These ones in particular, for this character, refer mainly to the battlefield, but if we scroll down, there are going to be others that, affect the cities and stuff like this. So wealthy, when in your city, you receive additional income, harvester, all this sorts of stuff. And so there's a variety of other tactics. There's also unique ones that I have made for the character editor. This guy's not a real historical person, although we can take a look at a historical person in a second. There's also, they each have their own philosophy, which informs kind of how you can run your administration, how it's balanced, and taking a look at through here. And then also tactics kind of inform, you can use special tactics on the battlefield. The combat is largely automated, and this sort of stuff, you give someone orders, and then for a period of 10 days they execute these orders. This is how the combat system works, and formations determine what you can do on the battlefield. So kind of to just take a look at, you know, we see you can sort by formations. These will affect things. So, for example, goose is you can shoot arrows. This is the only one where you could use arrows. Ring is highly defensive. Fish is probably the strongest one. Crane, I believe, is good at capturing. Owl is really fast, so is arrows pretty fast as well. Tower, ram, and catapult are all good for capturing cities. Here's kind of a bunch of their tactics. The policies are kind of work in concert for forming an administration, and you can also, you know, have set in the editor at least, you know, father, mother, spouse, this sort of stuff. So let's get into a game and just kind of take a look at what's going on as well. So we're going to start a new game. We're going to start from the Warlords bookmark, because I think that this is the most interesting or most fun bookmark, and we're just going to select someone. Why don't we select kind of the hero of... we'll go through the settings. Liu Bei is kind of the hero or the protagonist in the book, The Three Kingdoms. So why don't we select him when we're taking a look here? And we're going to have this big intro that is kind of, you know, part and parcel. We're just going to skip through it, though, of the Three Kingdoms books. And then we have this little thing, which is more flavor. Regarding Sun Ce, but we just want to get in and focus on the game a little bit, and come in and kind of showcase what's going on. So he is our advisor. If we take a look at appointments, we can see administration, and now we can see what we're talking about. We have a noble administration, which means we're well balanced. We have equal slots for all of these, you know, for battle, personnel, or battle support, schemes, domestics, and personnel. All of these you can assign people who give various effects for your country, and so this kind of sets up your country. Again, it's all character focused here. You know, the characters determine what sort of personnel strategies you can add, and so acquiring characters is really important. Searching for officers is really important. If you go people is an entire tab, you can search for new people, you can employ them, you can award them specialties, which is the equivalent of items. So if here we have like the Swords of Fate, which gives additional strength. You can engage in plots. These are kind of less important, but they're okay. Estrange is probably the most important, because it decreases loyalty. But other than this, the plots are not particularly useful in this version of the Three Kingdoms. This is kind of your bread and butter here. You can engage in diplomacy. The diplomacy is not that robust, but you can, you know, give people money, form an alliance. You can exchange for prisoners, which are important because it's very character-driven. You can go through suggestions, but since we're on extreme difficulty, you can't use this. And what suggestions do is you kind of petition your council, and individual characters will offer up proposals of what should be done. We don't have any events that we've created, so we don't have that. But for example, events here, there's some like local flavor. We could probably do this one pretty easily here. Abdication of Zhu province. We haven't done this before, which would kind of just follow over through the history. There's a lot of events that in particular move history along, and kind of railroad to some degree, although this game doesn't feel very railroaded at all. We can assign, you know, titles to our various people, which is going to give them leadership, strength, intelligence, or politics, depending on what title we can assign. We're not that high ranking, so we can't assign too high a ranking here. And finally, let's just take a look at, you reward officers to make them good, but let's just take a look inside Zhao Pei, and let's see. Can we do this? I do forget some of the interface, but I just want to see the officers. Alright, let's go to city info. Okay, perfect. I just want to take a look at some of the officers here, and just look at, you know, kind of what characters we got going on. So, for example, we have Guan Yu, who is, if you've ever been to a Chinese mom and pop shop for Chinese food, it's very likely that they have a giant statue of this guy who was kind of venerated following this period as a semi-deity. But we can see he's got like a lot of leadership, a lot of strength, a little bit of intelligence, politics, and a ton of charisma. He's one of the better officers in the entire game. And you see he has assault and defense, so that's attack and defense of your units. of your force within your own unit within a specific range are increased, so he buffs all the guys around him. He duels better, and duels are a thing in this game, although you don't have much control. There's not much player agency in duels. The officers just fight each other, and that's that. Glory is the amount of troops required for the unit to expand its range. It's kind of a little too much to talk about. Afferent morale of other units in your force other than your own is less likely to decrease, and sort of this. And Cornerstone is actually really good. Public order of all areas affiliated. So why don't we just march a few of these guys out and just kind of showcase what's going to look like when we pass turns. So we're going to march out a unit here with Liu Bei. He's going to be doing Goose, so he can shoot arrows. This is the only arrow shooting formation. And we can march him anywhere on this map. Just taking forward, let's just advance him here, and he'll just wait there once he's there. And then we can march out with a couple other guys. Why don't we do Guan Yu? We'll do the arrow formation. We'll march all the way to here. And then there's some tedium, and you see the characters, you know, come up quite a lot. They have a little bit to say when they're doing stuff. It is a sort of character-driven, flavor-oriented game. And we'll march out with Zhang Fei, the last of the 3 Oath brothers. These men swore a Peach Garden Oath, and then we're just going to end the turn. It's not super important that, you know, we play tight, because I just want to show off the game a little bit here. But you'll see that they will form their own units, and they'll march out. If they encounter other units, they will fight them naturally. Now you see they're just waiting here because we just told them to only do this. And so they executed their orders, and then they just waited because, you know, that is how we have the automated things set up. And so that's the case. And now you see, if we highlight these guys, there's a bunch of arrows where there's these lines in between them. These indicate that they are, you know, they have special affinity for each other, and so their stats are going to get boosted. You can see this guy's assault is a bit higher. Well, it's denoted with the blue mark off to the left. I can't hover it, unfortunately, with my arrow. But this is because a result of him being next to his Oath brothers, that they are boosting each other's stats, this sort of thing. You also get a boost of stats if you are near, if you control a bunch of the adjacent territories. So this is another feature that's pretty important. And you notice we kind of have drawn green lines with our units here. This is kind of the area we have under our control. What's really neat about this game, or at least the combat in this game that I find particularly interesting, is you can cut off supply lines by completely cutting off, you know, the territory that is under your control, at which point these guys will suffer significant malices, and so you generally don't want to do that. Now, as far as the economics in this game, they aren't that robust. You just kind of assign governors to areas, and you tell them to work on one of 3 things: commerce, which gives you more gold; agriculture, which gives you more food; and barracks, which gives you more soldiers when you have guys recruiting. We can, for example, put Quan, who has, if I'm not mistaken, a pretty good, well, let's actually do Guanzhong. He's got pretty good stats. Notably, he's going to use politics and intelligence for a lot of this. Quan, I believe, has quite a lot of politics. He'll be really good with the agriculture. I'm not sure exactly how the balance works, but we would maybe want this guy to be engaged in commerce because he's +9 there. Each turn, he'll get another +9, and this will fill up to 100. And then I think it goes to the next level, something like this. I forget exactly how it works. I believe it's 100 per level. It has been a little while. And then, for example, we could assign a different guy to here. We could assign Quan. And also, when you have someone in charge of the area, as Jianyang is here in charge of Rensheng, they will naturally spread out their sort of influence here. And so you'll gradually control it just by having a governor. Actually, let's swap these two. So for each area, we're going to put Quan here instead, actually. And the reason why is he has famous, so when assigned as an area overseer, which is what we're doing, land conquered is increased and ransom amount increases when taken prisoner. So we're going to have him assigned to agriculture, and you'll see how this will expand this influence. We're just going to end the turn here. This is not, you know, the tightest of play. We're not trying to play especially tight or anything like this. You see someone's marching out of Puyang with a lot of guys. Looks like they are here to kind of see off enemies here. But you see that as we ended the turn, a bunch more territory was gotten for us. This will increase the amount of income for the area, as well as, I believe, decrease banditry, this sort of stuff. We can reward our Quan here because he did a good job and he gratefully accepts it. So you can also do some other things. There's a bit more going on. So for example, we can build stuff all over the place in this map that's around. These buildings will have different effects. So camps will increase our defense and decrease our supply consumption. A fort is a better camp. There's catapult towers, music towers, this sort of stuff, a bunch of different ones of these that allow you to kind of strategically set up a defense. It's not the craziest strategic game, again, mainly being character driven here, but this is something that you can do. Let's just kind of quickly go through. You can automate some of your cities by creating divisions, so you don't have to manage them yourselves, although you know, a lot of stuff is, in terms of the economics, it's a lot of just set it and quit it. A lot of the very early play pattern is you are just kind of searching in your city and you are trying to find new guys so that you can employ, because having a bunch of characters is very, very important. So we'll just search Zhao Pei and see if we can find anyone. Notably, these guys are just eating food and really doing nothing. We would not want to just leave them out in the battlefield like this. But we discovered a guy and we, of course, try to hire him immediately. Can't hire him, but we will get additional chances to hiring people, and this is like one of the more important play patterns. Let's see if we can take a look at Lu Bu over there, who is the mightiest warrior in all the three kingdoms, this gentleman here. Right now, the AI is, you know, picking up all their areas so they can assign governors to them. We would have wanted to pick up these areas that are kind of the outskirts of Zhao Pei. These areas, this area, and this area. But if we take a look at Lu Bu here, maybe we can see unit info. Look at the officers, and we can see that he has 108 strength. This is the highest in the game. He's not too bright, though. He's a soaring general, so he ignores zone of control. He's a duelist, good at duels, and he's reckless, notorious, rash, these types of things. Very, very strapping lad. This is one of my favorite characters from the Three Kingdoms era. I believe if we take a look, we click officers, we can see some of their biography, who they like, these sorts of things. He was an officer of Wei. He fought under Lu Bu and served Xiao Xiao after Lu Bu's death. In defense of Hefei, he held off a Wu army of 100,000 with only 800 men. I really like that portion of the book, and he is one of the more upstanding guys, and so I really like him. He has a bunch of good traits, no negative traits as well, whereas Lu Bu has a bunch of negative traits. You can see here, he's got the gold trait is kind of highlighted, and then the blue trait, and then the 3 red traits. When those are filled, it means that they are currently active, but I think that this is kind of just a short enough overview of the game, which is pretty interesting. You win by conquering all of China, which is actually incredibly tedious. But if you just kind of get to a point where you're where you know you are just stronger than the rest of everyone combined, you can kind of just quit the game and, you know, start a new game or what have you. This is the only game in my Steam library where I have every single achievement. Why don't we march these guys back? It's not because this game is good. I would not call this a good game, but it is a game I like a lot, which is an important distinction. We'll just march these guys back, and then we'll try and employ our boyo, who appeared, because this is one of the fundamentally most important play patterns. There's only so many soldiers or officers. Officers are not randomly generated. Oh no. Our relations have been stymied. Xiao Xiao is, deciding to make us two, Lu Bu and us, a little bit less cordial. But you can see here, we will try and employ someone. This is probably the most important play pattern. There's a limited number of officers. Every officer is historic. So if we just take a look at him, can we see... No, we can't look at his biography through here. But we can try and employ him with multiple officers. And we can try and search as well. Let's just... Liu Bei is notably, I believe, the most charismatic individual in the game. And we can do this. We can add a few more officers, have a few search around, and see what can happen. We can go domestics, we can go area government, and just auto-appoint. And we'll just appoint for commerce. This is fine. So now these guys are leading it. Again, you cannot improve the city without having officers. So having officers is really, really important. It is just entirely officer driven. It's all about the people. It's all about the Benjamins. And we'll see. Now we're trying to employ him. This is the most charismatic boyo, so surely he says yes. Oh, he doesn't. He doesn't want to become an officer. I think this guy naturally joins Liu Bei. Well, shoot. And so, this is a game I really like, though, and I just wanted to intro it. If you like this video, feel free to like, comment, subscribe, do this sort of thing. I think we will be starting a campaign in this game, which is why I made a video for this, to kind of preface stuff and explain some things, you know, before getting into it. That way, an introduction to the game is less necessary for my viewers who have never seen this game before. Anyways, other than that, have a good one.